broadband program, senior citizens can sign up for 10 megabytes of unlimited internet at a low monthly cost of $25. Citizens over 65 can sign up with a valid ID and receive free installation plus 1 month free on selected broadband plans. Visit a smart showroom near you for more information on how you can enjoy Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program. Smart, bringing people together.
Excuse me, sir?
Yeah.
But how can you pay with your phone?
B-Box.
What? What is B-Box?
B-Box have been his newest rewards program.
Really? Where I could get it from?
Man, check on the website bbox.bz or you could download it from the App Store. And if you still don't know, check that young lady there and she will hook you up.
I will surely do so. Good afternoon, miss. Can you hook me up with B-Box?
Great Belize Productions Channel 5, proud winner of 9 Caribbean Media Awards for 2021. Best Investigative Report, Best News Item, Best Coverage of People with Disabilities, Best Financial Literacy Journalism, Best Videographer, Best Television Commercial Spot, and the People's Choice Award, with 2 special mentions for Financial Literacy Journalism.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5 Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Marion Ali, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes, go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time, and so are we.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind the scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
And if you're joining us now, we are just getting our first conversation for this morning started. And as we mentioned to you slightly before the break, we are joined by representatives from the Ministry of Health and Wellness and medical professionals, all to talk about infection controls in hospital. So joining us this morning in our studio, we have Engelbert Emmanuel, who is the Director of the Licensing and Accreditation Unit at the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and Angeli Almendo, who is an infection control nurse at the Southern Regional Hospital. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us here this morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is a very important topic, and one that probably doesn't get spoken about that much. So let's start kind of talking just about infection controls and what we aim to do by these sort of practices.
Well, in terms of infection control, generally to give an overview, it's basically to control and prevent the spread of infections, pathogens, within our health facility, within the community. And there are several techniques that we go about doing that. And we have seen that as we travel across the country, as we visit our health facility. Also during the recent pandemic, we talk about the use of personal protective equipment, normally abbreviated as PPEs. We talk about hand hygiene. We talk about environmental cleaning and sanitation, cough etiquette, respiratory hygiene. And it's something that we want to encourage and get, the common culture in our setting to break what we would call chain of transmission of disease. Because the only way we can break the chain of transmission of disease is by implementing these strategies. Now, how do we go about doing that? We have to educate our population. We have to let them know of these techniques, and we know our cultural mix in our country, and every aspect is a bit different in terms of our approach. So it is quite difficult, and I certainly, Nurse Olmedo, can share those techniques on the ground and some of the difficulties that we would experience. But the program at the end of the day is basically to build prevention and control measures. And also we have to check these measures. And once we check them, we have to be able to learn them, teach them, and sell it. And this is where what we call the multimodal approach in IPC comes in. And for us to fully accomplish that, we need all our professionals within the health system to do that. We need to have a plan, and we need to strategize how we do that. And unless we have a strategy, then we're able to implement our measures accordingly in a fashion, in a coordinated manner. No?
I want to dive deep into the process of what happens as a patient, right? I don't really know what happens to the gauze after you're done. I don't really know what happened to the bottles or the injections and the syringe. I don't know what happened, right? I just know that I got and I am cured. So after you are done with the patient, what takes place at the hospital?
When we're done with the patient, in regards to what happens with the patient or what
happens with the item?
Okay, so that part has to do with the hospital, but it also includes the patient. Okay. Because you have to explain to patients what you're doing. And it is expected as a part of what Mr. Emmanuel was saying with the multimodal strategies. Yes, he said a whole pile of words just now, and I know you guys are sitting there and thinking like, what exactly is he saying? But basically, infection control has been about for hundreds of years. It's not anything new. It probably seems new to you guys, but it's not new. It's something that from medicine began has been in place, right? So these are simple processes that have been found to work. And it simply means making stuff safe. So when it comes to the stuff that we use for the patients, there's a portion with infection control. It's a hierarchy of controls. So we have your basic standard precautions, and then there are precautions that go up in levels. So a part of your standard basic precautions, meaning the basic stuff that you can do to maintain infection control, includes the hand washing, which is the basis of infection control, right? Then you have the waste management, the PPEs, which is a short term for basically it means stuff that you wear to protect yourself. So if you're a nurse, it will be your gloves, your mask, your gown, the goggles, the hair covering. If you're a pharmacist, it will mean the coat. If you're a lab tech, the coat again, and the gloves. If you're in the kitchen, it basically means whatever item of clothing that will protect you, right? Because you have to remember that in a hospital, what is in a hospital? Sick people. And it doesn't mean that because I'm a health professional and I went to school and I learned all this stuff, I am a super person and I will not get sick. I will get sick. I can get sick. So these things are there to protect us and protect the patients as well.
And you raised something which I think is really relevant for the conversation. In the sense of the different settings that a hospital, for example, will have. You may have different wards, and then you may have the pharmacy, you have the kitchen or the staff areas, and so what sort of practices are in place for like an institution like that, so as to prevent infections across the different areas?
Okay, so the hospital in itself is divided into zones.
Okay.
Right. So what we do is that you divide it. You have like the theater, the wards, all the places that you mentioned, and it's controlled by trafficking. So if you notice, have you been to a hospital recently? Have you been admitted?
Not recently, but I have been, yes.
Okay, can you just stroll into a hospital and do what you want?
No,
right?
Yeah.
It's there for a reason. So yes, when staff is working, there are stuff that we do automatically, but the public does not really understand. And therein lies you have some issues sometimes because people don't understand that. When we say you can't go this way, you can't go that way, it's not because we're being mean. Yes, there are precautions and there are reasons why. So the pharmacists, for instance, when they go to the wards, they won't go into the patient setting. They won't go into isolation wards. They wear their coats. They would go and stock up and check whatever they need to check, but they won't go and interact with the patients.
When it comes to the facility, right? What is it that you, when you're giving a license and accreditation to a particular space, not just a public hospital or a private clinic, what are the things that they need to have readily available, or what kind of hygiene control do they need to have in order for them to be licensed and accredited?
Well, there are several things that we take into consideration when we looking at licensing. The infection prevention control being one of them, but we also look at the quality assurance system, looking at patient safety and all those other things. But generally, you have to have the basic hygiene measures in place. You have to ensure that staff are aware in terms of these basic practices that is required. Waste management has to be thoroughly managed accordingly. Earlier you asked about waste management, the gas, etc. What we do with that, it should be treated, it should be stored in an external area, it should be removed from the facility, and then it should be destroyed accordingly to standards. Now these are things that we look at as we're going to give a license. We also look at environmental cleaning and sanitation. We also sometimes would request how often the facility check to see if there are probably pathogen growing in certain part of the facility. So doing environmental swabbing, looking at the results. We look at linen management, for example, how the linen is stored, how it is, how it moves between the facility, externally, internally, the dirty linen area, the clean linen area, and how it is managed. There are several things that we look at. We look at training of the staff, continuous education for all the professionals in that area, looking at the PPEs that you have available in the event that there are certain episodes that you may experience during a care that you need to provide, how available these resources are for you to respond and to protect the patient, protect the professional, sorry, not the patient, but also giving a safe or having a safe environment for your health professional to actually operate in.
How did COVID kind of turn these measures upside down in a way? And I don't mean it because, I mean, these measures existed prior to the pandemic, right? But what happened after? Because we know that you guys had to kick into high gear and go tenfold. So now the nurses are wearing their protective suits, but do you all have to, what happened after? What did COVID do to pretty much show that, you know what, we weren't as prepared as we thought we were? Right?
Actually, in every bad thing, there's some good, right? So for years, I have been in infection control for over 10 years, from 2007. And with infection control, it's more about cultural change. And that is, it's not completely hard, but it's difficult to change
habits,
right? So for years you teach the same things, how to wear your gloves, how to take it off, how to wear your mask, identifying when you're supposed to use the different PPEs. And yes, it is a requirement that yearly everybody attend sensitization sessions, and if you're new, you attend the sessions. And the goal of infection control is that not that I will come along and tell you, you wash your hand correct, you put on the gloves correct. You're supposed to be able to think and apply without my presence there. So even when there's somebody don't know the wrong, or Nurse Rayburn, or any of the infection control nurses in the country, you are supposed to understand that I'm doing this procedure, these are the risks, and this is what I should do.
Right.
So when COVID came about, everybody started to they wanted to wear all the PPEs. They wanted the perfect one. They wanted the best one. They wanted the high-level ones. So we went from persons being reluctant to use the PPEs to wanting the best and wanting to make sure that they have everything. So it was hectic for us locally because, you know, we don't have this. We had to improvise. But it was good to me noticing them. They're like, wow, they are actually applying what we have struggled with for years to get them to do. So now, initially it was like this scare because there's always a fear of the unknown. If you don't know something, you're afraid. So initially it was this huge fear. Everybody was afraid. People were dying. You saw what was happening in the other parts of the world, and we were afraid little Billies were going to die. So everybody was like panicky. But after a while, they got used to it, and it became like second nature. And then they realized that, you know what, I don't need to wear the full hazmat. I don't need to do more than is necessary. I understand that this is the procedure I'm doing, and this is what I need to wear. Plus, them feel hot.
It's a little bit ironic that it is called infection control prevention, and then all of those small things that you were trying to get them to do for so long, which is part of the prevention, became what I guess this disease came, and now we're following the prevention because we can see what happens if we don't do the prevention, right?
So it's maintaining that because who knows, maybe something else will come next year. We don't know. So it's not like, yes, COVID came about and we learned about gloves and we learned about N95. These things were there before. We have always had different health scares in the past. COVID is not the only one, it's the most recent one. Then we had monkeypox. We have not had a case yet, but still, next year it could be something else. So these things are always there. It's there for us to understand why I'm using it. The good thing is that it's good on the bad, because remember I said to me in every bad situation there is some good. The community on a whole has changed, because I could recall like 5 years ago you wouldn't see people walking around with masks, none of these in the Asian communities, like in Japan and Taiwan, it's like second nature to them to wear their masks, but in Belize never. But then now you see they're like, oh okay, they understand now.
And I think, you know, for me that brings up a question, I think, from the ministry's perspective, is how you go about, you know, sort of establishing what are the correct standards and protocols that the different health institutions need to adhere to. With COVID, it was like we had a whole, because of all the international requirements, we saw that happening in real time. But you know, as Nurse was saying, this infection control has been a part of the medical system forever, and of course standards and practices change over time. So how does the ministry, establish what the standards has to be for any particular institution?
Well, it is based on the conditions that we are seeing, the type of disease, and then there are certain prevention measures that we would adhere to. And again, those recommendations come from WHO and CDC. So we utilize those standards and then we tailor it, to our local setting. Not tweaking the IPC aspect though, because that cannot be tweaked. So we would utilize those standards nationally. We come together as a team. We review what our country needs to do, and then we then do sensitization, and then we launch these documents so that they can be utilized when they're providing certain care at the local level.
So it's like a check, it's like a check and balance. We do not operate on our own. We operate on the umbrella of the World Health Organization and PAHO and all other external agencies that help us to improve. So it's not like, you know, we have a whole plan and it just stay like that. Every year we work on it to improve, to ensure that we are in the same standards as the rest of the world.
So it's dependent. It's dependent on the condition, the risk that comes along with that condition, and then we do our evaluation and then basically apply what WHO recommend for those risk levels, we call it.
In terms of educating the wider populace, because I know we're talking about infection control in hospitals specifically, but what we've learned from the pandemic is that as people, like you say, we never made a wash your hands, right? Basic things. Yeah. So in terms of what Gavin and I, what our viewers can do to prevent and keep infection control, apart from happy birthday and washing our hands, what else can we do?
Okay, I think earlier Mr. Emmanuel made mention of why an infection occurs. Okay, for any infection to occur, regardless of the type of infection, there is a chain that has to exist. You don't have to do anything fancy, right? You have to understand that for a disease or an infection to occur, you need a germ. It could be a virus, it could be a bacteria, it could be a fungus. You need a germ that Mr. Emmanuel referred to as a pathogen. It basically means a germ. You need a germ. You need some place for it to live, because we all know that you have to live, you need stuff, right? Then you need a way to get in, you need something to live in, you need a way to come out. Those are the things that you need in order for an infection to occur. What everybody needs to understand is that for an infection, those little things that I mentioned, they have to link in, they have to tie in. So infections do not just occur right so off the top of your head, right? It happens with those links. It's breaking the link at any one of them. So if you can kill the germ, it will die and the infection will occur. If you wash your hand, yes, and you kill it and you get rid of it, it will die. If you clean your environment, you will kill the germ, the house where it lives, right? So it's not, like I say, it's not rocket science. It's basic things that you need to understand.
Take medicine.
Yes, you take medicine to kill the germ. You clean your house to kill the germ. You bathe, personal hygiene, you clean your hands. Your hand hygiene, a part of your hygiene, right? So basic things that you do it the right way so that you could kill the germ and you make a difference. So then you don't get sick and go to the hospital.
So the concept is to reduce all the risk factors, eliminate as much as possible, and break the chain of transmission, that we would say in epidemiology. You know, and one of the things that we would want to encourage the public is to continue, you know, increase hand hygiene, your social distance, keep your environment clean, you know, because those are the right conditions where we see pathogen. And again, we know the list of pathogens and that the right environment for them to grow and to survive. So we want to reduce those things within the school, within our homes, within our workplace. And the only way we can do that is constant cleaning, teach our children, teach our community in terms of washing their hands, cleaning their clothes, cleaning their space where they sit. You know, it's very, very important.
I find that with COVID, because as infection control, during our dilemma, because like, okay, COVID came and we were already short of staff. Realistically, the healthcare system, we have a heavy load and we have little staff, right? So we had to improvise and use it what we had. So as an infection control nurse, I was not only with the hospital but outside as well. And I found that people tend to think, you know, okay, I'm ill, I need to stay home, open up your house, don't just lie there. You need to get up, you need to exercise. And when they say breach your quarantine and go out and go to shop and whatever, but you need to abide by the protocols, but at the same time, open up your place, clean up your place. It will help you feel better. It will clean your house better. It will air out the house, get rid of the germs. And also another important thing that you guys said, what the community can do. Have you ever had a neighbor that has a little sore throat and they come and say, you have any ampicillin? You have any amoxicillin? You can't do that. And you can't go to a shop, go buy one ampicillin or one amoxicillin. For some reason, people tend to think that once I have a itchy throat, I need antibiotics. You don't need the antibiotics, because again, that is another way that the community makes things worse for themselves, because if you start an antibiotic, you need to complete it for the course. You can't start, take it and stop. You will teach the bacteria to get smart, and that pills now work on a bacteria.
And right, so that was going to be my question in terms of like immune system adaptation, right? So what is the myth behind, okay, if I throw alcohol every single day, the bacteria and get used to it and eventually learn to live with it? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about immunity adaptation, because I just want to make it clear that certain things are not, you know, medical myths do exist, right? So can we talk a little bit about that?
Certain things, okay, you need to understand the basics. What kill, what minimizes, right? Okay, alcohol, Clorox, those are solutions that will kill. So there is no way germ will get immune. The only way, okay, yes, those will happen, but you need to understand certain things, right? If you have alcohol, remember alcohol evaporates, right? So if you leave your alcohol open, what will happen to it? It will evaporate and no water left there. So you have a bottle labeled alcohol, but you left it open, it evaporated, and it's basically water. So the germ live. Yes, because the water left, it evaporate. So it's basic science, but you just need to understand and think and apply it, right? So
and that's why when it comes to the licensing requirements, we look at the right conditions where these chemicals and pharmaceuticals, how they should be stored, because there are certain temperature at the end of the day. So it is important not to impact that, or the efficacy of that chemical be impacted, because once it does, we know that it will not work accordingly, and we will see the growth, the existence, and boom, we start right back the cycle again.
So then what does that say about civilians or citizens? Because, you know, if my bottle of Tylenol say keep in a cool, dry place, and Belize hot, and the only cabinet I have in my kitchen, it not work.
You pick the coolest spot in the house.
So you have to really strategize when you deal with that. You can't keep it locked up in your closet. You need to keep it open in an open air space where it's not too hot. So it's important to understand these key things. Another thing too, when it comes to, for example,
whatever you tell them to do when you're around. When you're not around, then they tend to do their shortcut. When you're at home, you tend to mix. If you want to clean the house, you mix up soap water, disinfectant, like people think
all the things that
mix
have
everything, you know. Do you know that you could make a bomb? You could actually, if you do that and you're in an enclosed area, no ventilation, you could collapse right there, because you're mixing acids. You're mixing acid. Clorox is acid. Then you put AHX. And then you want to put the muriatic acid, and then you want to put
because we feel that we
making it more clean. Yes,
right.
But it's dangerous for you. It's very hazardous for your health, for the mixal and stuff. One of these days.
And that's why we need to teach the public, and that's why it goes back to us at headquarters, and we emphasize, you know, that we need to create more education awareness. We need to create more programs, including in the schools. A standard 3 student, it's not too late for them, or too early, for them to start learning some of these things, how to keep your place clean, your space tidy, reduce, you know, some of these risk factors. You know, we have to start to teach our children, teach the community, get them more involved, because at the end of the day, this is not only on the onus of the Ministry of Health. It is on all of us as citizens of this country, the way we dispose of our waste, etc.
And it's good when you teach kids, you know, because then kids, they go home to their family. My teacher say, and that's like gospel. So what they see, they take to their house.
I think that kids were the ones that really adapted the best during this pandemic, because I still forget my mask, and my brother will never walk out of the house without one.
You need to wear your mask.
No matter what.
My son have a big sanitizer. He want to keep that. I said, my daughter was like, I bet he take that out for break and use it, you know. So I asked her, what you doing the break? He said, I carry my sanitizer. I stuck it with
Kids are adaptable.
Because I have to clean my hands.
Well, we're quickly running out of time. Do you have any final words for our viewers?
Well, one of the things that we want to encourage the general population at the Ministry of Health is to continue listen to the advice from the Ministry of Health, you know, assist us in terms of preventing the spread of disease, you know, is quite important. Spread prevention, like what the team says, you know, and not
infection.
Not infection is quite important. So practicing standard precaution, and Nurse Almeida says standard precaution, clean your hand, keep your environment clean, your social distance, etc. Put your waste in the correct area, you know, and keep everywhere clean. That's basic.
Just be clean.
Yep, just be clean.
You'd think that is something that we would know by now, but unfortunately,
it's a cultural change.
It's a cultural change.
And
we're getting there.
It's a mindset change.
But you know what? I think things had transformed over the years, and we're not able to transform with these things that transform. Because back in the 80s, we may not have seen much pathogen in the air, in the environment. So we were quite relaxed. You know, and I can talk back from then because I am back from those years.
But we've never had this much access to stuff.
Yeah.
And that is something that we have to take into consideration.
And times change and people change and germs are very loving.
Yep.
And germs change too.
Yes, and
exactly,
it's smart.
because we have a lot of emerging condition, and that's what I was going to get at, you know, in terms of understanding then to now. You know, back then in the days we could have lived in a dirt floor house, because they may not have been maybe fecal contaminant in the environment.
Right.
Now we're seeing all sort of things, you know, that then pose risk factors to our health.
Well, Mr. Emmanuel, Nurse Olmedo, thank you both so much. We hope to have you guys come back on a different circumstance, right? Maybe you're giving us a little crash course, but thank you both so much for joining us, and I think our viewers enjoyed that conversation. We will take a short break and we'll be back with our next conversation for this morning, so stay tuned.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Full-Tech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Full-Tech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
We were born connected to the water, the deep blue, the soil, the salt air, sheer abundance, ritual, water, expectation of the catch, the wind and waves. What lay beneath filled our bellies, sustained our communities. But song fell to a whisper. Her rituals were lost. Communities changed. But now, that song beckons us back to the sea. The generations that came before, and for the generations still to come. Thriving abundant sea is possible. Rebuilding fish populations can be our legacy.
¿Reúnes los requisitos para la amnistía 2022? Esta es tu oportunidad de aplicar. En el sitio web www.immigration.gov.bz encontrarás una lista completa de todos los documentos necesarios para la amnistía según los criterios para los que eres elegible. Asegúrese de reunir todos los documentos generales y de respaldos necesarios y las traducciones necesarias. Haz tu cita en línea con cualquiera de nuestros centros de registro a nivel nacional. Ahí presentarás tus documentos y completarás las entrevistas requeridas. Después, se te entregará un recibo de aceptación. Mientras esperas una decisión sobre tu solicitud, puedes seguirlo en línea y saber cuándo será el pago en la oficina de tesorería del gobierno más cercana. Una vez completa, recibirás tu tarjeta de residencia permanente que muestra tu estado legal en Belice. Obtenga más información sobre la amnistía 2022 y cómo presentar tu solicitud en línea en www.immigration.gov.bz. Prepárate, el plazo de inscripción será del 2 de agosto al 30 de noviembre de 2022. Amnistía de Belice 2022. Continuemos construyendo Belice juntos.
Great Belize Productions Channel 5, proud winner of 9 Caribbean Media Awards for 2021. Best Investigative Report, Best News Item, Best Coverage of People with Disabilities, Best Financial Literacy Journalism, Best Videographer, Best Television Commercial Spot, and the People's Choice Award, with 2 special mentions for Financial Literacy Journalism.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Marion Alley, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes, go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time, and so are we.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
Reduce your risk of viral illness like the flu or the coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water or with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing or sneezing with a tissue. Throw away, then wash hands immediately. Avoid close contact with anyone who has the cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or nearest health center and share your travel history. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
Kadilesa Albert Iterlube. Inita nomada. Naba santi golida ligabri. Asa talida l'escola abro hatia. Afiat na lo ni la mege do. Time out. Weri hali anigi bele habusa rogrigia wena mohaya hagamro duniwa irahia. Baro bada ayano haba hama bisanigu. Demele badugunile bide haba lida leredoroniwa hagamro duniwa irahia.
Morning, John. Your baby they grow fast and he looks so cute.
Natural? And he on a light bed, and I love the fact that I always have clean water to take care of.
Girl, you know you're lucky because when I'm in the group, my picnic, the problem to get clean water for bathing and feeding.
The water board only charge a small monthly fee for clean water, and some people not like the idea at all. But for me, it's more than worth it.
Girl, you know you're right.
I see it as an investment because if we don't pay, then we don't have clean water by the time the MJ grow up. So that's definitely an investment. One investment in our life.
Pay your water bill today and guarantee clean water tomorrow.
The Department of Rural Development is working on achieving Goal 6 of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is to ensure access to water and sanitation for all.
And we are back and moving into our second conversation this morning. It's all about Cancer Awareness and Cancer Awareness Month. This is October. And to join us to talk more about Cancer Awareness Month, we have in studio Dr. Ramon Yacob, who is an oncologist at the KHMH. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
And we have Nurse Natasha Vicente, also employed at the KHMH. Good morning.
Good morning.
And joining us via Zoom, we have Chelsea Munoz, who is a cancer patient and survivor. Good morning, Chelsea.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Well, we're here to talk about Cancer Awareness Month and, of course, to talk all about what the oncology unit at the KHMH has been doing. You all have been up and running for the better part of a year now. Talk to us about the progress, the inception and the progress, and what you think we can do more.
Yes. Now, as you mentioned, the oncology unit has been open for a year, and during its inception, it was in August actually, during COVID. And we did that in the planning because we were seeing so many cancer cases. During the COVID pandemic, we continued having the clinic go through, and we were seeing over 200-300 patients per year, even during COVID. So we said, okay, we need to continue this. We had already been doing the legwork in terms of getting the refurbishing, the restructuring of the unit, getting the equipment, training for human resources, and we said, okay, it's time to open. Now, during the past year, what are the services that we have been offering? And it's not only the unit for the hospital. It's everyone's getting involved in the hospital, from the diagnosis. If a patient has a suspicion, the surgeon sees the patient, the surgeon evaluates the biopsy, and we follow that biopsy or the patient very promptly. We establish treatment regimens based on the stage. So we do consultation for diagnosis, for staging, for treatment. We also do referral because we do not have radiation services available here in Belize. Not only that, but an integral part is also the follow-up. It is important that every patient who's diagnosed with a cancer has the adequate follow-up for a given time. And unfortunately, there is a big portion of patients diagnosed with cancer with an advanced disease in country. So we also offer palliative care, and we work in partnership with our different stakeholders, including the Belize Hospice and Palliative Care Foundation, to ensure that patients have that continuum of care from diagnosis all the way up to.
Can you break down what that means for me in terms of the disease that comes with the cancer patient? What does that mean, and what kind of diseases are you talking about in particular?
Yes. When it comes to cancer, there are different types. And in Belize, breast cancer is the leading cause of cancer. We see it on a regular day. If I'm having 10 or 20 consultations coming per day, half of them are women. And it's what worries is that it's women in their productive years. The larger portion of patients coming in and 40s, 50s, and we're having patients who are under the age for screening who are coming in with cancers, with breast cancers. And the other worrisome part on what we're seeing on a daily basis is the stage. Most patients are coming in with either a stage 3 cancer or a stage 4 breast cancer.
Wow.
We would have wanted, I mean, ideally to have early detection, to have it successful, and get every single patient either at a stage 1 or a stage 2. However, our reality is quite different.
Can you just very quickly, I guess for some of our viewers, also break down sort of what we are talking about by the different stages of cancer? Because we hear it often, and I think a lot of people don't really fully understand what each one means.
Sure. A stage 1 breast cancer is a cancer that would generally measure less than 2 centimeters. It's the patient that they do their mammograms, we're able to detect it, and the patient goes for treatment. And mostly it will only be a surgery, depending on the context, a partial removal of the breast or breast conserving surgery, or a mastectomy, depending on preference. But the patient may only need surgery, plus or minus, chemo if needed or not. Now, a stage 2 cancer is a tumor that may measure over 2 centimeters. It's generally when that's the patient that's generally doing her self-exam and she's able to feel a lump. Most patients, when that happens, we already know it's generally a stage 2 cancer. It has to be between 2 to 4 centimeters in size. A stage 3 cancer already has evidence of regional spreading, meaning it's not only confined to the breast, but now it may be affecting the area on the armpit area. And that poses a higher risk. Why? The higher the stage, the more aggressive treatment the patient will require. And when it comes, and unfortunately, when it comes to a stage 4 cancer, it's a cancer that has already spread to the bones, to the liver, to the lungs, and it's not curable. So the prognosis changes completely. That's what we generally say when it comes to staging, and even in the treatment, there are limitations. Why? The components of cancer treatment for breast surgery that can be performed here in Belize. Chemotherapy, it can be performed here in Belize. But what happens to the patients that need radiation? And since most patients are coming with an advanced cancer, either a stage 3, automatically we do know that from the beginning or from inception that they will require radiation.
I want to get Chelsea in on the conversation, and just because she is a cancer survivor. Chelsea, thank you so much for joining us this morning, whether it be via Zoom. Can you talk to us about your journey and what it is that you would want a message to be sent out to our viewers in terms of being aware of cancer?
Hi, good morning. That's a very good question, and I get asked this all the time. So I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 2, at the age of 19, going on to 20.
Wow.
So I was really young when I was diagnosed, and I believe one of the most important things, and like Dr. Yakab stressed, that many young people now are getting diagnosed with cancer. People that are too young to get screening. So I would say the most important thing is just pay attention to your body. And we all know our body very well. And if you see anything alarming, please get it checked up. It's super important for anyone at any age. And that's what happened to me. I noticed swollen lymph nodes on my neck area. And I lost a lot of weight, and that's how I knew that I had to go and get checked up. And I was diagnosed immediately. I got checked up at Medical Associates, and then I moved to Merida to get treatment and just get second opinions and stuff. But I strongly urge everyone to just pay close attention to your body. Also, it's important, even if you don't see anything alarming with your body, to just take that visit to the doctor, to the hospital, and just get checked up, get everything checked up. My parents recently, they visited the hospital, and they did a complete checkup just to make sure that everything is okay, because early detection is super important, like Dr. Yakab said, and it prevents later on in the future a lot of time. It can save you money and even save your life.
Nurse Natasha, I want to get your opinion on the culture that we have in Belize in terms of why is it that we don't want to go get checked out? What happens to us where you would see a patient, you said, have you been coming recently to get checked? And they said, they don't want to do that, right? So what do you think it is about us that we don't want to go and get checked?
I just think like many of us, they think that we're young. Cancer is an old person disease, and that's a lie. Like right now at the unit, we have, I'll give you a scenario. Like the other day we had a patient. He came and we had a younger female and him. He's much older, like 50s, 60s, right? So he looks at the patient and he says, well, aren't you too young to have cancer? So the patient felt that way, yes, because for like myself, I'm within the age range, you know, because we're young. We say, oh, well, that won't happen to me. But that's not it. And then that makes us scared to go and get checked, get tested. Or like most Belizeans, we don't want to know. If we don't know, it doesn't hurt.
Right.
So then majority of us, well, I'd say more my age, because we're the age that's partying and being out and don't want to get tested or get checked. And so like that, I would say that's a gap between. But the self-exam, it's not something that you should be ashamed of. Having cancer, you should not be ashamed or be afraid to go and find out. The earlier you know, the better.
Right.
There's more option for treatment and a curative intent, rather than finding out that way late that you're at stage 4, and then it's harder and more emotional for the patient.
And you know, working within the unit, what are the sort of daily, let's say, you know, the things that both of you see daily, as both as a doctor and a nurse, and people who are undergoing this form of treatment for cancer, the different types. So you spoke a little bit about chemotherapy and things earlier. So what are some typical things that occur in a day in a hospital? So I'll go to the doctor first, and then you can start.
Well, it starts with generally it's a full day always.
Yeah.
We're always having a full day, and we're having the group of patients. We're coming in with the suspicion. We're actually having patients coming in, Doc, I felt this. I don't have a diagnosis. Do you have any recommendations? And the alarming part is that when they're coming in, we're seeing clinically that it is a cancer. So it means that, and when we're having that conversation with the patient, how long did this start? They tell me 6 months ago, 1 year ago, and that's mostly talking about breast cancer. The other part is the emotional part, the social aspect. Yes, we're talking about cancers one-on-one with the patient. I may be recommending treatment, but when we dive into their life, we have mothers, we have fathers, that are telling me, Doc, I didn't come in because it was either I work to eat, or either get my test because it wasn't improving and I just thought worsening. I'm coming in now. Family support is also a big, I've been seeing that growing, that there's that big stigma when it comes to the word cancer. So it's us doing the clinical part, trying to offer a portion of emotional support for patients, and just trying to be with them during the whole journey. We need to guide them.
And nurse, for you?
Well, for us, mainly we're in the infusion room. So for patients who are doing the chemotherapy for the first time, there's a lot of coaching. Sometimes there's language barrier, but we get Dr. Yakab or Dr. Habet to translate. But it's mostly emotional. And then coaching them through the chemotherapy and each cycle. By the time they're finished, you're like, okay, that was fast. But majority of the time it's emotional. We administer the chemotherapy, coach them through.
So in terms of, since we're talking about support and emotional value when it comes to cancer, Chelsea, walk us through your support system. And you know, I can't even imagine the amount of roller coaster of emotions that you had experienced throughout your journey. But you are officially cancer-free, yes, and you are now an advocate for cancer awareness. So let's talk to us about your support and how you have been campaigning.
So yes, I've been in remission. I'm going for about 3 years now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's, you know, from the very beginning when I was diagnosed, it was a roller coaster with emotions, like many cancer patients or cancer survivors would say. The biggest thing for me and the biggest support that I had, it was my parents and my family, my immediate family. I think it's super important to lean on them, because at the end of the day, your family will have your best interests at heart, and there's nobody else like family, right? So they were a huge support for me. But at the time when I was diagnosed, I had also I won a pageant. I'm from San Pedro, so I won Miss San Pedro at the time, and I had to deal with being a beauty ambassador and also going through chemo and being diagnosed with cancer.
Wow.
It was a tough challenge for me, but I also had the support from my San Pedranos, my community. They were a huge help. They did fundraisers. They sent me messages with like encouraging letters, encouraging words. And I know that many people here in Belize, some do have the support from their family members, from friends, but for those that that don't have the support, I urge you to just try your very best to stay positive. It is a tough road to be on, but and it is a scary one too. But I believe that although this illness seems kind of like a prison sentence, you will look back on it and learn so much about yourself and so much about your own strength. I believe that God only gives his hardest battles to his strongest and strongest fighters. So you can definitely do it. That's pretty much like how I would encourage people that don't really have that support from their family members and stuff. Because there's some people that have to fight this all alone, and I can only imagine how hard that must be for them.
Thank you for sharing your story with us, Chelsea. I said to Gavin, she looks so familiar, and then when the beauty pictures came up, I said that's how I remember her. But coming back to you, Dr. Jacob, in terms of prevention, right? And this is something that we kind of know in terms of what radiation can do. It can also jumpstart other heart diseases and so forth. So what measures do you have to take in the oncology unit to make sure that maybe it doesn't get to that stage?
Okay. In terms of us as health personnel, well, what we're doing is we have within the unit different areas. One, where the chemotherapy is generally mixed or prepared in a sterile fashion. We have a hood over available at the hospital that decreases the exposure to the drug. Not only that, but during the chemo administration, well, Nurse Vicente, they generally use their protective equipment too, their PPEs, to administer both the chemotherapy safely with a minimal risk or exposure towards health professionals, and at the same time administering it safely to the patient.
Right. And Nurse Vicente?
Well, for us, we have, even though like there are multiple patients within the room that are receiving chemotherapy, each one, sometimes they are receiving the same regimen, or sometimes it's different. So we have to ensure that we don't make contact from one medication to the patient. So then like that, we take our risk, we sanitize and, you know, precautions for each patient.
So,
and Doctor, you had said earlier that most or a large part of the diagnosis are for breast cancer. But can you talk a little bit about, you know, sort of other things that you've also been seeing, and sort of where I guess a lot of people may associate cancers with, let's say, genetic history or whatever, but are there other factors which lead to different types of cancers, and what are we seeing that's, you know, reflected in the general population that you see?
Yeah. Now, as well, we do know that breast cancer is it's the largest group. However, the second most common cancer that we see on a daily day is cervical cancer. And that hits very hard. Why? Cervical cancer is preventable. And that's what hurts, seeing patients coming in with an advanced cancer. Next type of cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancers. Those are the most common ones that we're seeing. In terms of what's of its relation with hereditary factors, we do know that family history is important, but will only be responsible in 10 to 20% of cases. So that means that there has to be environmental factors and other factors that may lead to a cancer. And that's important to know, because some of the remarks that I generally get from relatives or patients, I don't have a history of breast cancer, I don't have a history of cancer. There's that big notion outside that if we don't have it, it doesn't mean we're at risk, when it's not so. Now, about cervical cancer, it is preventable, it is caused by HPV, and the biggest recommendation right now is get your vaccines. Have all the girls 9 to 13 years get their HPV vaccine shots, the boys too, we can prevent it. Unlike the other types of cancer, yes, daily having a physical activity, doing exercise, having a well-balanced diet, it can reduce the risk up to 1/3, but we still have the other 2/3 that we are going to diagnose. So we may not be able to prevent all of them, but we can certainly detect early the most common types.
Now, what is the oncology unit doing this year to raise awareness for Cancer Awareness Month, besides coming on Open Your Eyes?
Well, that's important to mention. Through the hospital, we're doing raising awareness through social media. We've also been engaging with different stakeholders. We've been partnering with the Cancer Society over at the San Ignacio branch, raising awareness within the community. We've been partnering with the Orange Walk Cancer Support Group, raising awareness over there, doing chats, and also the Rotaract groups going from places, trying to raise awareness within the school, within the communities. That's from our part in the oncology unit. Not only that, but also being an advocate within the community and with the rest of the health allied professionals, because we do know that it is important for a country and a community to know about cancer, but also for us who are directly in contact with the patient, know when to refer the patient, know when it's time, so that we can optimize, diagnose adequately.
Is there anything that you would like our viewers to take ownership with when it comes to cancer awareness? You know, like you rightfully mentioned, we feel like we're young, so it's not going to happen to us, or we don't have a genetic history, so it's not going to happen to us. So what is it that you would like our viewers to take away from this conversation?
Remember, cancer is, from my part, it's as Chelsea mentioned, and as we all know, early detection saves lives. You know your body. If you're noticing that something is abnormal, if something is wrong, please get checked. And we have to emphasize on having your screening. Do your screening mammogram, do your pap smears, do your colonoscopies, do your screening, because we need to have that embedded in our culture. Early detection saves lives.
All right. A nurse?
I'm with Dr. Jacob. It's just, you know, we have the resources. Pap smears, they're available at the clinics, private, public. Colonoscopies, well, the mammograms, we have them available. It's not like we're limited. Yes, we have our limitations with treatment, radiation, and so forth. But detection and prevention, it's open. So don't be afraid. Just go and get checked.
Just go and get checked.
It doesn't hurt. Well, some are uncomfortable, but it's good to know.
And Chelsea, final words for our viewers.
Hi. Well, pretty much everything that Nurse and Dr. Jacob said. I would also like to mention that it's amazing that Belize is now offering many services for cancer patients to make sure that every person that is diagnosed with cancer gets adequate care. I think that we've come a long way, and I have to applaud the team, Dr. Jacob and his team, for a job well done and taking care of our Belizean people. I think that's super important to just notice all the hard work that they're doing. Also, another thing I would like to stress, and I know many people don't like to hear this, but it's crucial for all of us to maintain a healthy diet. Make sure you include all your food groups, get enough vitamins, and do your daily exercise, even if it's just a walk. Some days when I don't feel like exercising, like doing hard workout, just go for a walk. It's just a matter of getting your body moving, your blood pumping, and it's just important to practice those healthy routines.
Perfect.
But that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Jacob.
you.
Thank you so much, Nurse Vicente, for coming in. It is Cancer Awareness Month, and we will continuously be talking about that for the rest of October. But before we get into our final conversation, we're going to take that short break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
elderly needs to stay connected with their loved ones. With Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program, senior citizens can sign up for 10 megabytes of unlimited internet at a low monthly cost of $25. Citizens over 65 can sign up with a valid ID and receive free installation plus 1 month free on selected broadband plans. Visit a Smart showroom near you for more information on how you can enjoy Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program. Smart, bringing people together.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
Great Belize Productions Channel 5, proud winner of 9 Caribbean Media Awards for 2021. Best Investigative Report, Best News Item, Best Coverage of People with Disabilities, Best Financial Literacy Journalism, Best Videographer, Best Television Commercial Spot, and the People's Choice Award, with 2 special mentions for financial literacy journalism.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
And we are back with our final conversation for this morning. It's all about culinary, arts, cooking, and the culinary training hosted by the BTIA. In studio with us, we have Ms. Lynette Canto, the Executive Director for BTIA. Good morning.
Good morning.
How
Thank
are
you so much for facilitating this interview this morning.
I think it's exciting.
We always love talking about food. So
I don't know who doesn't love talking about food. So let's jump right into it. Raising the bar on Belizean cuisine. You said that this has been in the works now for quite some time. So what sprung up the idea?
All right. Well, basically, as I'm sure you know, people love food. And
I do.
And culinary tourism is definitely on the rise. And we know that Belize has such a lot to offer. But in actuality, a lot of our restaurants are still serving international cuisine. When people visit a country, they're looking for a local, authentic experience. So when they come to Belize, they're not looking for pasta, they're not looking for burgers, they're not looking for pizza. They want to experience authentic Belizean cuisine. And so what we're trying to do is elevate what we offer so that when they come, they can leave with an experience that they will talk about. You know, food is tangible. You can touch it, you can taste it, you can smell it. It creates nostalgia. So so it's a great way of, you know, making a mark on tourists coming into our country and giving them an unforgettable experience. So that is what we're trying to tap into, so our chefs know that there are a lot of local ingredients that they can use, and not just the regular rice and beans and stewed chicken and all that. There's so much more that Belize has to offer.
So it's a training exercise, so it's not just for show per se. So who can come? Anybody could come? I could come, Kevin?
We're specifically targeting chefs and sous chefs. We're hoping that as many of the hotels that have restaurants associated with them, and as many restaurants as possible will send their chefs and sous chefs to this training. We have 30 spaces per session. It's on a first come, first serve basis. So we're encouraging people to enroll now.
Is there a sign up sheet?
What they can do is they can call BTIA at 227-1144, and we'll be more than happy to send the registration sheet to them. Or they can send us an email at registration@btia.org, and of course we will send the information to them. That's how people have been signing up so far.
All right. And you talked about it being something where you're encouraging more of the hotels and the tourism sectors to send their sous chefs in. So is this a one-stop shop, or are you going on a tour?
Okay, so we would have loved to be able to go to every destination within the country. That would have been the ideal situation, but unfortunately, due to time limitations and cost limitations, it's not really possible to go to every destination. So we tried to choose 3 of the, I would say, more accessible destinations, and where we have a lot of restaurants as well that can certainly benefit from this training. So we're starting in Hopkins at the lodge at Jaguar Reef. That's our first stop. The training will be 2 days. So we'll spend 2 days in Hopkins, November 1st and November 2nd. And then on November 4th, we'll be in San Ignacio at Cajalpech. And then we move on November 7th and 8th to San Pedro. The San Pedro training will be split in 2. We have a practical component, we have a theoretical component. The theoretical component will be at Sunbreeze Hotel, and then for the practical component where the chefs get that hands-on experience in the kitchen, using their creativity and all that, that's going to be at Hidden Treasure Restaurant and Lounge. So it's
It is a tour. It is a tour per se. You're moving north, south, west, and then finally to the Keys. So who is then facilitating these trainings? Who can we expect to see, I guess, behind the desk giving your chefs these experiences?
Okay, so when, like I mentioned earlier, this has been in the pipeline for a while. Since I took over as executive director at BTIA, I have a passion for training. And BTIA's mandate is to contribute to the development of the tourism industry and its growth and sustainability. And so this falls directly in line with what we're trying to achieve. And so COVID was an issue for a while. Things were a bit unstable, so we weren't able to execute any trainings at the beginning of the year. But now, you know, we're in a much better position, so we decided this is the time to get this done. And so immediately, we thought about Chef Sean Quillen. He has such a passion for food. He has a passion for local cuisine. And he has an energy that I'm sure will motivate and inspire the chefs who will be taking part in this training. We also reached out to Dr. Lira Spang. She's a food anthropologist. She knows a lot about different types of food, how you use it, how you substitute one thing for another, how if you're making a dish, instead of bringing in imported stuff, there are local ingredients that we can use. So she will bring the theoretical aspect to the training, and then Chef Quillen will be the one that will now, he's going to have a conversation with the chefs, they're going to plan out their menu, and then they're going to go into the kitchen and execute.
Oh, so it's like you learn, you do the work, and then you have an exam at the end of the
Yeah, basically. But there's going to be a demonstration dinner at the end of each session. And so day 2 in Hopkins, day 2 in San Pedro, day 2 in San Ignacio. Those are going to be the days when we're going to do the demonstration dinner. And at the end of day 1, that is when the chefs will huddle and come up with their meal, their menu. So even Chef Queeling and Dr. Lira don't know as yet what that final meal will be, because it's going to be tapping into the creativity and ideas coming out of the chefs that participate in the training. So I'm really looking forward to that, because I'm sure we'll get some amazing dishes. And that demonstration dinner is going to be a 5-course meal. So it's going to be very elegant.
What are the 5 courses? Appetizer.
Well, you can be
there's going to be soup, there's going to be salad, there's going to be a main entree, and there's going to be dessert.
Okay, nice. And going back to what we were talking a little bit about in the beginning of the conversation, for the BTIA, can you talk to our viewers a little bit about food tourism, what it is, and it's because it's been something that's been trending a lot over the past few years, and talk a little bit about like what makes Belize's product so special.
Okay, thank you for asking that. Food tourism is of course very important. Just recently, Belize was featured in Condé Nast Traveler, basically showcasing us as a must-visit culinary destination, and that's a big thing for us, because there are millions of people who access the Condé Nast articles. And so food tourism is definitely growing. Once upon a time, when people visited a country, they would basically just stay in their hotels, maybe stay on the beach, sip a pina colada, and then they would be offered meals that they would find at home anyway. Things have changed. People who are traveling now want to have authentic experiences. So they're no longer going to stay in the hotel. They're going to travel around. They want to experience what the local food is like. They want to be able to have conversations with local people. That's the way travel has evolved. And so Belize, yes, we're well known for our attractions. We're well known for the warmth and friendliness of our people. And if you do a survey with anyone that's leaving the country, most of the time they would tell you that they're really impressed with the food. It made an impact on them, but now we want to elevate this and take this to another level.
When it comes to the training itself, what are you hoping that the chefs will take away from the experience?
What we're hoping is that their creative juices will really flow, that they will be able to say, okay, well, I don't really necessarily have to use a cucumber for this, or I don't necessarily have to use broccoli. There are other things that I can use that people will really be fascinated by, that will tease their taste buds, and that will really create that experience that we want to create for them. So basically, it's to leave them inspired to do better and to be creative.
I mean, I want to thank Dr. Lyra Spang for joining us via Zoom. She is going to be one of the facilitators for the Belize cuisine training. Dr. Spang, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy to be here with you guys.
Thank you for coming. So just a little bit of a background on yourself. You are an anthropologist, and particularly now you are a food anthropologist. You are known as the bite your finger lady, the one where everybody come to for advice when it comes to food. So talk to us about the importance of food, and especially the culture that we have in Belize in regards to that.
Okay, well, my background is growing up in Toledo district in the 80s and 90s. At that time when the road wasn't paved down south, we were our own little world down there, but it's a very diverse world. Toledo district, Punta Gorda town is the most culturally diverse town in the country. Every culture that you can find in our country is present and represented in PG.
Yeah.
So growing up, I was exposed to, you know, all the different cultural foods, and also got to, you know, play around with different ingredients growing up on a cacao farm in Bacabush in Toledo. So my personal background, you know, it started as a child, you know, catching crab, you know, land crab during crab season, and fishing, and, you know, climbing the tree for mangoes, all of that. And I think, you know, often when it comes to professional cooking in Belize, as soon as people start dealing with the tourism industry and they start cooking in restaurants where we are dealing with either, you know, kind of high-end cosmopolitan Belizean customers or foreign visitors, we throw Belizean food right out the window.
Yeah.
We say, oh, this is, you know, high-end, this is a high-end restaurant. We can't be serving, you know, rice and beans or this or that. We have to have, you know, something different. And when we say something different, in Belize, something different is code for usually North American food.
All right. What is it about our culture that does that though? Why do we think that outside food is better?
That stage goes back to colonialism. I call it the colonial hangover. We are a young country, you know, only 41 years out now from independence. And the British, they had a system when they colonized. They always told the people that they were controlling that the British food and the European way was the best, and that anything that was local, anything that came from another part of the world was inferior, and that the British were superior. And they would pound this literally into people's heads for centuries. And I think we absorbed that idea that if you wanted to be powerful, if you wanted to be wealthy, if you wanted to be somebody, you needed to be consuming European goods. And so for a long, long time, back in the day, when you came to Belize City from working in the logging camps and you got yearly bonus, what were you going to spend it on? Imported goods, to show that, you know, you were somebody, you had money, you could buy things, you could at least have a little taste of the life that the wealthy, powerful Europeans that had colonized and were controlling our area were living.
Yeah.
Now, the truth of the matter is that we have amazing ingredients, amazing flavors, amazing cultural food in our country. But even since independence, we have struggled with really celebrating that. And there are many people who are proud of their culture and they're like, what? No, man, I'm proud. I love my food. I enjoy this. I love that. You know, I big up my cultural food all the time. And that's good. That's a great start and that's important. But we're also talking about taking it to the level of a Belizean cuisine, where we're bringing the different cultures, we're melding them together, we're elevating them to, you know, even if it's a mid-range restaurant. A lot of the mid-range restaurants that are sit-down restaurants in Belize, they tend to go in the direction of North American food, burgers, pizza, nachos, jalapeno poppers, this and that. Very, very common. You see those over and over and over again at a mid-range restaurant. Like, oh, we are not a rice and beans joint. You know, we are doing something different. We are, you know, something different, pizza, something different, a burger, you know, and we are just, you know, borrowing that American fast food. And I would like to say that we have so much more and better to offer.
So I can imagine that this training will not,
that.
This training will not have pizza and burger.
No. And although I will say the pizza is kind of like a blank slate. You spread out the dough, you can put anything on it, and you can put Belizean ingredients on it, and you can make a Belizean pizza. And I actually know somebody who does that, and I think it's very successful. So I'm not saying that you couldn't, but how do you Belizeanize these things? How do you make it so when you taste it, you're like, wow, this is something really, you know, this. If you are a Belizean and you taste a successful, inspired Belizean cuisine dish, it should remind you of either of your childhood or your granny cooking or something. It should bring that nostalgia, but at the same time, you're looking at the plate and you're like, wow, this looks like really beautiful. The presentation, it feels very high-end, and they blended different cultures or different ingredients together in a way that I've never seen before, but it tastes so good and it reminds me of my country. So if you are a tourist, when you taste that same dish, you should be like, man, I've never eaten this before in my life. Right. This is so different. This is so exotic. This is so unique and special. Belize has some amazing stuff. That is what we want. We don't want to represent something that we're all that's been done to death. And we have some cool ingredients and we have amazing flavor combinations, and that is exactly what we're going to be doing in the workshop. Sean Quillen, he's on the road today. He couldn't join us, but he's been messaging me. We are very excited to be doing this with the chefs, where we're really going to dig down into how can you think outside of this box. And this box is a box that we kind of been put in by the training that has been available, which a lot of times it's a foreign chef that a resort brings in as a consultant. They're in the kitchen with Belizean cooks and chefs. They are teaching these Belizean cooks and chefs on the job, and what they end up learning is what the foreign chef knows. What does the foreign chef know? Not Belizean food.
Right.
The foreign chef knows their food. And there's nothing wrong with that, but what that ends up doing is that our Belizean chefs, the training they're getting is oriented towards North American cuisine and cooking techniques and flavors. And we are trying this whole training, the whole idea is let's bring it back home. Make we bring it home. Let's bring those flavors that you and I all know from our childhood, and let's do something amazing with them.
I would imagine that a foreign chef don't know how to properly cook and stew local chicken.
They might be able to, they should know how to break down a chicken, right?
A chicken?
Are they going to bring the flavor that, we're looking for that's going to represent Belize on the plate?
Right.
And that's what we want to do. We want to represent our country, all its cultural diversity on the plate.
I want get one fancy plate oxtail from Dr. Lyra Spang. That's my challenge, Doc. I want one fancy plate of oxtail.
Sean Quillen did that already.
Well, he never bring it to me, so I had to tell you that you're one.
He did a deconstructed boil up.
Wow.
Where he took the pigtail and he boiled it and he pulled all the meat off and he did these little tiny pack like amuse-bouche, one bite appetizers that represented all the flavor of boil up in a single bite.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things that can be done. We just have to do it.
So then that means you guys need to come to studio and show Gavin and I how to make a pigtail appetizer or a boil up appetizer.
Well, you contact Sean and I and set up the time. We'll work it into the schedule. I'm sure that we can make it happen.
Perfect. And so this training, like you mentioned, it's rightfully for persons that are already kind of in that chef field. They've done their culinary training before. It is just to Belizeanize their training
Belizeanize and elevate it to another level, basically.
So when you are finished with this training, when you are done, are they going to perhaps maybe do a presentation in itself on what they've learned, or how do you plan to test their skills?
That will be done at the demonstration dinner,
right.
which will be on the second evening of the training. And that is where we'll really get an opportunity to see how creative and how inspired they were during the course of the training.
So do they have to come up with their own dish?
They're going to huddle together at the end of day one, and that's when their creative juices will be flowing and they'll come up with their idea as to what they want to serve at the demonstration dinner.
Okay, and is this training come with a fee?
It does come with a fee. For BTIA members, it's $300 per person. If you're not a member of BTIA, it's $400 per person. If you want to become a member of BTIA before the training, that's an option. And then, of course, the training will be $300 per person for you.
And where can they register?
They can call BTIA at 227-1144, or they can register via the registration email, which is registration@btia.org. And we want to encourage anyone that owns a restaurant, that owns a hotel that has a restaurant attached. We're encouraging each of you to send your chefs to this training. It won't disappoint. You heard the passion from Dr. Spang, so you know that she is very excited and that it's going to be awesome.
Dr. Spang, final words for our viewers. What is the one thing that you really want our chefs to take away from this training, from this experience?
I want them to go home, really inspired and excited to reach back to their childhood, running around, picking this fruit, tasting a crabu, getting a sea grape or whatever things like they enjoyed out there. in their childhood experience and realizing that they can take those experiences of their own culinary heritage, and that can be elevated and shared with the world. When we get the elevated food, we do not have to leave our Belizean identity behind. We can bring that to the white tablecloth. There is absolutely no reason why we should be cooking North American-inspired, European-inspired dishes for high-end dining in Belize. And there's so much we can do, so I want these chefs to go home really inspired and excited. We're going to be going over their menus with them. We're going to be, giving them specific ideas of how they can start to think differently and really Belizeanize and bring their own knowledge, because we all have this knowledge to a degree of, the flavors that are out there. It's just thinking how we can elevate it. So I just want to inspire people to use the knowledge that they really already have, and just to value our Belizean heritage and put it on the plate in an elevated way. And I'm really excited to see what everybody comes up with, because I think this is going to be great for Belize, and for all the restaurants out there, and for all of us as diners. We're going to be seeing some new exciting things hopefully over the next year.
And there are only 30 spaces available per training, so enroll today.
When is the deadline?
The deadline is, we don't really have a deadline, as long as there are spaces available.
So I think we just pop up.
Yeah, people can still sign up.
Perfect. I really am excited for this, and of course, as News 5, we will be following up.
I want to be able to taste when
I know. I'm very hungry. I'm very hungry because well, you guys can come. But I want to thank you both so much, Dr. Spalding. Thank you so much for joining us. You are so right when it comes to that colonial thought, and it's really ironic because they came here for our flavors, and we think that their flavor is better, which is a strange setup, right?
Yeah,
but I hope that in time we're able to change that. So thank you so much, Dr. Spalding.
That's the brainwashing that we're leaving behind us now.
Yes, we left it behind. So while we're leaving behind the brainwashing, we're going to take our final break, and we'll be back for a wrap-up. So stay tuned.
Hola usuario de eCash, la aplicación eCash está disponible en español. Cambiar el idioma de tu aplicación de eCash de inglés a español es rápido y sencillo. Déjame mostrarte cómo se hace. Primero, abre tu aplicación eCash. Introduce tu PIN. Toca el icono More en la parte inferior de tu pantalla. Selecciona Security. Selecciona Language. Y luego selecciona Spanish. Vuelve a introducir tu PIN y ya está. Tu aplicación de eCash está ahora en español y puedes seguir disfrutando de tu cartera digital eCash. La aplicación eCash de Belize Bank te hace la vida más fácil.
If you are ailing due to a chronic disease and are left permanently invalid before retirement age, you may want to check if you qualify to receive invalidity benefit. The invalidity benefit exists for persons who are unable to continue working due to permanent illness. To qualify, you must be under 60 years old, must be sick for 26 consecutive weeks and certified to be medically unable to perform any type of work, must have at least 5 years of paid SSB contributions and at least 5 paid within the 3 months leading up to your illness. If you do not qualify for the invalidity pension, you may be eligible for the invalidity grant. Want to know more about invalidity benefit? Visit our website or contact any of our offices to have someone assist you. Also, be sure to visit our Facebook page and give us a like to stay informed. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Everyone, including our elderly, needs to stay connected with their loved ones. With Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program, senior citizens can sign up for 10 megabytes of unlimited internet at a low monthly cost of $25. Citizens over 65 can sign up with a valid ID and receive free installation plus 1 month free on selected broadband plans. Visit a Smart showroom near you for more information on how you can enjoy Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program. Smart, bringing people together.
And we're back just like that. Morning show has come to a close. But before Gavin and I rush off to our day jobs, we would just like to thank all of our guests for joining us this morning. We had our friends from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, as well as our friends from KHMH, talking about infection control prevention, Cancer Awareness Month, and so forth. And of course, we wrapped up our show with talking all about culinary training that will be hosted and facilitated by BTIA and Chef Sean Quillen and Dr. Lyra Spang. Wonderful conversations this morning. Thank you to our viewers for tuning in and joining us this morning. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always drop us a line right here at oie@channel5belize.com.
You can also find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OIE Belize.
We would like to thank you all so much and see you tomorrow when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
And be sure to keep your eyes, your minds,
and your heart open.
Have a safe and productive day. Goodbye.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.